A property in Logic Monitor is a key value pair that stores some piece of information. Properties are a key component of how Logic Monitor works. They're referenced in data source definitions, in alert messages, dashboard widgets, and auto-assignment group criteria. In fact, a device's properties ultimately determine what will be monitored on it, since logic modules are always applied based on device properties. Take a look at the Applies To fields of a few logic module definitions in your account. Notice that the Applies To field uses an expression written in Logic Monitor scripting language that references device properties to determine whether or not that logic module will apply to any given device. If the expression evaluates to true, given the properties of a certain device as input, then the logic module will apply to that device. Properties can be set by the auto properties system, by property sources, or set by users through the UI or using Logic Monitor's API. First, let's look at the auto properties system. In order to know what to monitor on a particular device, Logic Monitor needs some information about it. Most importantly, it needs to know what it is. So when a device is first added to the system, Logic Monitor determines what it is by asking it a few questions about itself and then storing its answers. The process of asking these questions is called the auto properties system, and the answers the device gives are stored in Logic Monitor as system properties for that device. Auto properties begins with the collector sending a WMI query and an SNMP query to a new device when it's first added. The WMI query asks for the device's operating system version, so if the device responds to this query, it returns its Windows OS version, which is stored in the system.sysinfo property for the device. The SNMP query asks for the device's system object identifier, or sysoid. If the device responds to that query with its sysoid, the response is stored in the system.sysoid property for the device, and Logic Monitor then queries the sysoid to get the device's system description. The description is stored in the system.sysinfo property for the device. The sysoid is used to assign a set of categories to the device based on a table of OID to category mappings that you can view and manage from the settings page of your account. Rather than one-to-one relationships, most of the OID mappings will set multiple categories for a device. Once matched, all of the corresponding categories are added to a device-level property called system.categories. The OID table is based on a regex match. The slashes are escape characters so that the dots will be treated as periods, not wildcards. The values stored for a device in the system.categories property are one of the main factors that determine the initial set of data sources that will associate with the device. The auto properties system runs automatically every time a new device is first added to Logic Monitor, and it runs again whenever something about the device changes. Auto properties also runs every time active discovery runs, including if you manually trigger active discovery through the UI. To recap, system properties are set automatically by Logic Monitor, but Logic Monitor users can add properties to their devices too. Properties set by users are called custom properties. If you look at the Info tab for one of the devices in your Logic Monitor account, you'll see the system properties as well as the custom properties. Properties set by the auto properties system will always begin with the word system. You can also set your own user-defined custom properties for devices or groups or even instances. Many logic modules require the presence of a specific custom property in order to collect data from devices. For example, the MySQL data sources require a username and password to be able to access information from the database. So the data source is configured to use the values set in the custom properties jdbc.mysql.user and jdbc.mysql.pass. The Tomcat data source is actually applied to devices based on the presence of a custom property called tomcat.jmx ports. It also relies on the value of that property to know which port Tomcat is running on, and it uses that in data collection.